everybody keeps saying, like, we should have a lot of linguistic and culturally competent service providers, mental health providers. My question to you, or even for any other ethnic group, is that how many people actually wake up when they're little kids and say, when I grow up, I want to be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a clinical social worker, someone that deals with mental illness. A lot of our cultures really don't talk about what mental illness is and how it can be cured. So a lot of times people don't even think about going into that field. So we do have a problem in recruiting and training individuals who are good at speaking the language and understand the culture. Now, some people who are lucky they're born here, the parents speak the language, but yet when they actually go and do clinical services, they have a hard time because the language is not there and they may not be as fluent. Those individuals who come from overseas have the language capacity, but sometimes they don't have the interest in this particular service. So we do have a critical issue in the workforce development. So that's something that I want to invite all you guys to think about, is how to help people come into the mental health field and get trained. At Aki, we've been around for like 30-some-odd years, 37 years. We work a lot with a lot of Asian population. Our staff speaks over 40 different Asian languages. Our behavioral health department, the mental health and substance abuse, speaks about 25 to 30 different languages. And one of the things that we recognize is that a lot of the Asian population doesn't quite understand what mental illness is. So we took it upon ourselves, and with some money from the county department of mental health, to develop a DVD that actually had our active consumers, and some of you guys may have seen the DVD. It actually talks about what is their experience with mental illness, and also how they have seeked help and how they encourage individuals to do so. So in that particular DVD, we have individuals with schizophrenia. We have individuals who have experienced anxiety and depression as a result of diabetes. So a medical condition that could also lead to mental health issues. We have family members talking about their experiences. And also somebody who was able to get mental health services and actually help their family. So it has been really well received, and we are actually translating it into different languages. So we just finished, or we're in the process of finishing our Vietnamese translation, as well as our Cantonese and Mandarin translation. The next two languages would be Cambodian and Tagalog. So as soon as we have that, we'll definitely pass it out to the department. And it is used to actually, it's a 12-minute video that we can give to anybody. And it shows stories, and then we just have questions so that people can begin a discussion about what mental illness is and how one can actually get help. So I think I'm out of time. So, I believe the next person is Taboo from Council Supervisor Cortez's office, who wanted to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Member Kenson Chu, Catherine, for organizing this community meeting around this important issue. And thank you everyone for coming here today to discuss the mental health issue. Mental health issues are not addressed often enough, possibly because it's taboo for the public. So they're either considered as individual, family, or keep as secret. So for us, our office is, we are going to host the older adult summit coming up. That will address the mental health issue, the need for the growing, because by the year 2020, the number of adults will be double. So that's why we will have a summit coming up. And we are on the finalized stage right now. We will update more information. And for more information, you can call our office. The number is 299-5030.
When do you think is the summit?
We expect to have the summit is sometime in May or June. So that's, and then we will send out press release, email, and then to inform a lot of nonprofit about the summit. So hopefully everyone can come and participate and share your feedback.
May is Mental Health Month, so that's a perfect time.
Andres? Andres is from Supervisor Shirakawa's office. And if I could have Don Roach's rep, please.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Supervisor Shirakawa, I'd like to thank the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Association and all the law enforcement and mental health professionals that made it out here to talk about this very important topic. So thank you all.
Big hand, we love George. And we also have Marissa from Councilmember Rocha, our new D9 council member. I voted for him. Clap, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marissa Mello, and I represent Council District 9 with Councilmember Rocha. If any of you are Council District 9 residents and you need our help, we can facilitate any discussions you want to have with any of these folks here. Please call our office. It's 408-535-4909. Thank you so much.
You guys did good for being called on the spot. Now, is there anyone else here representing anyone else I should know about?
Bob Dolce from
Kathleen, who?
No, Bob Dolce from Housing and Homeless Services from County.
Bob, you want to say a quick minute?
Sure.
You've been so vocal, why not?
Bob Dolce. I'm the County Homeless Concerns Coordinator, and I also help develop affordable housing, working with nonprofit housing developers, like in this instance, Bill Wilson Center, in developing affordable housing for homeless or at risk of homeless mentally ill individuals and families, utilizing about $21 million worth of Mental Health Services Act dollars. So it's an honor and a privilege to work with the homeless and to get them housed in the best way that we possibly can all throughout the county. Thank you.
Is this working? Now we have a little gangster from the mayor's office, Jose Salcido. Big hand. I can say that as my friend.
From the mayor's office, I want to thank everybody for being here. I kind of wear two hats. I'm on the board of directors for the Martin Luther King Association. I also work out of the mayor's office, but it's very important to build the bridges, and that's what it's all about, is getting the community closer to law enforcement and vice versa, and we're going to get to a good place when we get done.
Could get a t-shirt that big or what?
I doubt it, but it's
Okay, I also wanted to give some kudos to the IPA's office. Come on, Diane, up with yourself. Please give her a big hand. She's actually going to be doing one of our community meetings on what to do when a police officer stops you. They have a wonderful study guide that I have just fallen in love with, and even us big kids too can learn when we're having a bad day to be polite when a cop stops us. So please give Diane another hand. And the chief will be helping her out as well. So now what I want to ask all of you is, see that good-looking man in purple there? He's got yellow cards. If you have any questions, please put your hand up, or our gorgeous treasurer in the back. Please don't anyone steal her, we need her. So raise your hand, Sandra. If you need a question card, put your hand up and we'll get you a card and a pencil. In the meantime, Christian, we'll go ahead and let you do the questions. You poor thing. I'm running in the back now. Thank you again all for coming. Oh, and if you want it directed to a specific panel member, please let us know.
All right. This first one is to Chief Moore, of course. Does the San Jose Police Department have translators when people call 911?
Yes. Let me clarify that. In our 911 center, we answer well over 500,000 calls a year just from the 911 calls. We also receive over another 500,000 in non-emergency calls into that center. A lot of them come from members of the community that English is not their primary language. We do have on staff a number of folks that do speak Spanish, Vietnamese, but they're not always on duty at the time that the person calls. So what we do is we contract with a service provider that with a one-button transfer we can get pretty much any language that's spoken anywhere in our county and many beyond that. It's a private service, but we get them on the line. We're able to establish contact, determine what language is being spoken, which sometimes is a challenge in and of itself with the type number of immigrants from different parts of the world. Once that is done, we're able to get the information that we need so we can respond accordingly. Interestingly enough, the service that we contract with was actually started by a San Jose police officer that I think Pat, you may have worked with Jeff Mumps.
And his brother is the sheriff of San Mateo County?
His brother is the sheriff in San Mateo County. But Jeff, when he started this program, he realized the need when he was working out in the streets of San Jose back in the 80s and determined to go out on his own and try and develop a company. He did that, in turn sold it to AT&T and made a fortune, left San Jose Police Department.
Bought his own police department.
Really. In addition to the 911 center where we receive those calls, we also have a number of officers, and we try and place high value on having officers that are bilingual or trilingual in language that are spoken in San Jose. Again, we won't have them all the time, every shift, when you need them, but they're usually available, particularly Spanish-speaking, also Vietnamese-speaking, on all watches. So on the midnight shift, we'll have a number of them. They may not be working in that particular area of the city, but we can call them over if it becomes an issue. And if we can't, then again, we use that same service that we do for the 911 dispatch center.
Is that the same for the cell phone emergency number as well?
Same thing. They go to the same location.
Can you repeat that, Chief? We didn't hear it.
Certainly, the question is, does that also go for calls that come in on cell phones? We now have a system here in San Jose that all the cell phone traffic, the 911 traffic, still goes to the same center, and that's over at our police department.
Second question, for Chief Moore, please explain what suicide by cop means.
I can answer that, but I think Pat probably have a better take on it.
There's a phenomenon that's been kind of dubbed blue suicide or suicide by cop across the nation because it happens common enough so it's actually caused a lot of study. We actually have a whole block of training on suicide by cop in our CIT program. Suicide by cop essentially is when people use the police department to commit suicide. People commit acts where they know that a law enforcement officer will be forced to use deadly force against them in order to protect his own life or somebody else's life. And when they deliberately put an officer in that position in order to force the officer to take their life, that's what suicide by cop is.
I'm just going to add one specific example of this, and this is a recent case that occurred right before Christmas, where we had an individual that had committed a number of robberies over at Valley Fair. And we ended up catching that individual. They committed 5 or 6 robberies, and by the time we caught up with that person, they were going to take on the police department. We ended up using a taser to subdue that person. But their stated intent after we were able to interview that person, he said, I wanted you to kill me. He made it very, very clear that not only the night where he was robbing those poor people out at at Valley Fair, also the night we caught him, we just never gave him the opportunity. But it happens routinely, it really does.
That sounds like a mental health case.
Okay, this one's for Pat Dwyer. How much money goes into mental health to serve the public?
Oh my God. I can't even, I wouldn't guess what the county's general fund budget's gonna be. I'm not where I do that. I could have given you the Mental Health Services Act budget, but.
The Santa Clara County Mental Health Department operates at a $288 million budget. So that's the amount of money that it's used to address mental health needs.
Why don't you say both the department and contract agencies?
The department, out of that $288 million, there's money allocated for contract community service providers that also provide mental health services, and there's also the county staff in the hospital that they actually deal with to address mental health needs.
Okay, the Mental Health Services Act money, let me just add real quickly, that's coming into the county is in tens of millions of dollars a year. We're not talking about just a little bit of money that's coming from the state of California, although Jerry Brown's trying to grab it. Right now, the money that's coming into the county, and anybody who's familiar with this, if I'm not right on, go ahead, feel free to correct me, but it goes into about 5 pots. The big pot is community services and supports, around $40 million a year. The next is prevention and early intervention, around $10, $11 million a year. And then the other 3 pots are innovation projects, which I mentioned. We have 8 of them going in the county. Capital improvements in technology, and workforce education and training. So it's a lot of money coming in from the state.